In today's video, I'm going to be ranking my top 10 roller coasters. I'm going to be joining everyone else during the close season because that's all people seem to be doing. That, and if I ran Alton Towers, what would I change? Oh, yes, I'm going to be ranking the top 10 roller coasters that I've ridden. If you couldn't have guessed from the video title. The list has changed quite a little bit. Is that actual proper English? The list has changed a little bit since I did my last top 10 video, which was, I think, like August or September of 24. So, a year and a half, basically. So starting off with number 10, we're going to be going to the Netherlands and Baron. 1898. Fantastic Dutch from me there. It's almost like I've been learning it for 3 years on Duolingo. Anyway, yes, Baron 1898, the B&M dive coaster that opened in 2015. This thing, since the day it opened, has been quite high on my bucket list. Not because it's a particularly intense coaster. It's mainly the experience, and it's a well-themed, brilliant experience. I've said experience twice in the same sentence. It's just a brilliant ride, very smooth. Not too forceful, but there's some forceful elements on it. The airtime on the back row down the drop is fantastic, and the soundtrack as well. I can't not do a small review of Baron without mentioning the soundtrack. It is incredible. One of the best soundtracks, if not the best theme park soundtrack. Yeah, it's a great ride. The pre-show as well, fantastic. Love a ride with a pre-show. Yeah, just a brilliant coaster. Anyway, going on to number 9, which I've forgotten what it is. So number 9 is Hyperion at Energylandia. The huge, massive Intamin mega coaster. Although it's a hyper coaster, not a mega coaster. I think they got a bit confused with that one. This thing is quite intimidating to look at. When you're stood off-ride looking up at it, it is huge. The only problem I have with this ride, and the reason why it's not higher, is because if you sit on the wing seats, especially the rides that I had, it might have changed by now. It might be a little bit smoother, but it was quite rough. But on the front, in the middle seats, it is incredible. It is very fast. The airtime is brilliant, and it's quite intense. It's a brilliant ride. Great first drop as well. You're going up the lift, and it feels like it goes on forever. Even though it's a quite fast lift, you're going up there for almost 300 feet. I think I'm correct in saying it's the tallest coaster in Europe with a chain lift. I know Red Force is obviously taller. I'm not an idiot. Yeah, Hyperion is the second tallest, so it is the tallest coaster with a chain lift in Europe. And yeah, it's a brilliant ride. If you've not been to Energylandia, get on it. Although there are better rides in the park, which are going up later. Fantastic! Whoa! So number 8 is another B&M. It's actually the final B&M on the list. So yes, there will be no more B&Ms. Sorry, Shambhala, but you've been dethroned. Shambhala is probably like number 12 or something. But yes, number 8 is Black Mamba at Fantasyland. This thing, when I first did it, I wasn't super impressed. I thought it was a good ride, brilliantly themed. It's got one of the best stations on a coaster, just in general. But I found it a little bit forceless. It didn't really do much. However, I had a ride on it in November of last year. I say a ride, I had multiple rides on it because the park was dead. And it swiftly became my favourite B&M. Dethroned Nemesis, dethroned Shambhala, like I say. Yeah, it's a brilliant ride, very well themed, quite intense now. I think it had its winter wheels on it, and it wasn't a cold day, it was quite warm, so it was running really fast. The whip, why did I say it like that? Cool whip. The whip on the 0G roll is incredible, especially if you sat on the right hand side of the train near the back row. Brilliant ride, fantastically themed, quite intense. It's also got like the Nemesis effect of you're going around and you feel like you're going to smack against some rocks, but you're actually like a couple, a meter or so away from it. But yeah, it's a brilliant ride, and I feel like I'm going to say this for every single ride. But if you've not been to I keep saying Fantasy Island. If you've not been to Fantasyland, go. And there's another coaster going up on this list later on, which Number 7, I can hear the soundtrack just from here. What a great soundtrack. It is Joris En De Draak at, what's the park called? I forgot what the park's. Efteling. How did I forget that? Joris En De Draak at Efteling, or George and the Dragon. It is a fantastic wooden coaster. I absolutely love GCI coasters. Every single one that I've done hasn't disappointed, and they've all completely blown my expectations out of the water, and this was no different, especially for a dueling coaster. I've done a couple dueling woodies, you know, Grand National, Stampeder at Port Ventura, but this one, by far the best. It is so fast. The airtime on some of the hills as well, and the fact that you're sort of crossing over every now and again, racing the other train, and then you split off and join back. It's a brilliant ride. The soundtrack as well, like I've mentioned already, very repetitive but very cool. I like the soundtrack. And yeah, anything from GCI, I absolutely love it. Not my favourite GCI. I feel like I keep saying this for every ride, but there's another one coming up soon. Spoilers. It's not overly themed, but it's got some good theming, especially in the queue line leading up to the station. But it's definitely not the best themed coaster, or best themed in the park even. But yeah, it's a brilliant ride, and I like it. Do with that information what you will. So at number 6, we're staying in the Netherlands, and we're going to Untamed at Walibi Holland. Since the construction series of this thing with, what's his name, Scott? I think it's Scott. I've wanted to ride this thing since the day it was announced. It wasn't my first RMC, but it was the second one I've done. Completely different to the other one. And this, I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't realise it was going to be this good, because we went down the drop into that weird, like, 270-degree double inverting corner stall, or whatever it's called, and I had no idea what that was going to feel like, and the air time and sort of hang time at the same time going through it, you being out of your seat for quite a few seconds, it's a really weird experience. And then you're going straight through some incredible ejector hills, especially on the return lap back to the station. It throws you out the seat. Brilliant ride, very smooth as well. I mean, I was going to say all RMCs I've done are smooth, but Yoi definitely is not smooth. Sorry if you're a Yoi fan, but it's just not great. So I should also be saying Joy, not Yoi, but it literally is spelt Yoi, so Jodge. But yeah, the station as well is really well themed. It's like a greenhouse. The whole ride's stylized. I wouldn't say themed, but it's stylized, and it's a really cool idea that they had for the ride. And yeah, brilliant ride. But we're going to move on to number 5, which is in Belgium, Ride to Happiness. So yes, even though Ride to Happiness is a lot of people's number 1, and I do agree that it is a fantastic ride, I do find it slightly overrated, but that's not to say it's a bad ride. I think it is one of the best rides ever built, but it's not what people have been saying. I went into it thinking it's going to be number 1, wasn't quite number 1. However, I feel like from the top 5 onwards, so from here down to number 1, there is not a single bad thing that I could say about the ride. You know, Untamed, the trains are a little uncomfortable. I know there's an RMC coming up later on the list, but I found Untamed's trains a little bit more uncomfortable than the other one. Hyperion, bit rough, barren, short, but not super intense. From now on, I feel like every ride you can't say something bad about. Maybe number 3 actually, you can slightly say it's a bad experience, but I haven't had that. Anyway, I'm rambling. But yes, Ride to Happiness is my number 5 coaster. I feel like the onboard audio is fantastic. It's very intense. The only small issue that I have with it, it's not something that ruins the ride, it's just I find it a little bit too short. If they extended it just a little bit more, I feel like it could be a lot better than it actually is, but they don't need to. It is already a fantastic ride. But yeah, it's a brilliant coaster. Mac Rides absolutely killed it. The airtime, the intensity, brilliant coaster. Onboard audio as well. And the theming in the queue line, fantastic. Especially when there's no queue, because you can just keep going round and round. Anyway, number 4 might come as a bit of a surprise, but we're going to Europa Park and Wodan. So like I mentioned earlier, GCI coasters are some of my favourite. They might even be my favourite manufacturer. It's either that or Intamin. Absolutely love them, and Wodan just is the best wooden coaster I've ever been on. It's got that old wooden coaster feel where you feel like you're being thrown out and sort of tossed to the side, or you know, ejected out of the seat, but it's done in such a smooth and non-rough way. Yeah, it's a brilliant ride. The speed of it as well, you go down that drop into the sort of tunnel underneath the station, or the... It's not quite underneath the station, it's just next to the station, but it's brilliant. You're going so fast. You get some great airtime over the hills. The station fly-through is brilliant. And the soundtrack's great as well. I feel like most coasters on this list have a great soundtrack. And that's the thing for me. I love an experience coaster. Yes, Fly's not on the list. It is, I think Fly is number 11 for me. But I love an experience coaster. And Wodan does that perfectly. It was a bit of a surprise for me as well. We came off the first ride. It was the first ride I did at Europa. And I was like, that is just incredible. The airtime, like I mentioned, is great. The operations are brilliant. And yeah, the theming as well. The theming in the queue. It's got like a sort of rolling pre-show. Fantastic. Like I say, past the top 5, I can't fault a single ride here. But we're going to go to number 3, which is the only one where you can maybe make a claim to say it's a bit rough. But we're staying at Europa Park and we're going to Voltron Nevera. So yes, Voltron, I can't decide if I prefer Voltron or Wodan, to be honest. So number 3 and number 4, they could be swapped. But Voltron just is a super intense ride with a great experience, a great soundtrack. The airtime as well, it is some of the best, most insane airtime you'll have on a coaster. The hang time's brilliant. The launches are great, especially the first launch. The Beyond Vertical launch, it's just... how that even works is just beyond me. But yeah, it's brilliant. There's some hidden elements as well, which I won't spoil in case you've not been on it. But yeah, I'm going back to Europa, not just for this ride, just because I want to go back to Europa. But I can't wait to get back on it again. The operations, I know it's just a whole thing for Europa, but the operations on Voltron are incredible. I feel like I've said incredible quite a few times in this video. But yeah, it's a brilliant ride. Like I mentioned, it can be a bit rough. I got quite lucky. I never had a super rough ride. I had one where it was a bit bouncy, but I didn't come off feeling like it was terrible. I still found it an incredible ride. The airtime, like I've mentioned, saves the ride for me. But yeah, Voltron is a fantastic ride, but we're going to move on to number 2, which, like, number 2 was my number 1 coaster for quite a while. However, a certain ride on this coaster, number 1 anyway, in November, completely confirmed it as number 1. So number 2 is Zadra at Energylandia. So like I mentioned earlier, RMZ coasters are just mental, and Zadra is one of the most insane they've ever built. It is huge and it is very intimidating when you're walking around the queue and you're thinking, I'm going to be up there dropping vertically down on this huge, fast, insane speed machine. Yeah, it's brilliant. And like I mentioned, speed. This thing is just, it does not slow down until you hit the brakes. The brakes are so powerful, which goes for the rest of the ride, to be honest. The whole ride is powerful. Power! Power, come on! You're going through the stall. You don't feel like you're upside down, but you know you're upside down. It is very difficult to describe, but it is so cool. And yeah, the airtime, not airtime focused. Untamed's definitely got more airtime, but there are some airtime moments on Zadra which are just insane, especially the bit near the end where you do that sort of twisted airtime hill. Oh my god, it is so good. But yeah, Zadra, it's so smooth, and if you go on a day where it's not busy, which when I was there was, it was dead, you could just keep going round and round and round, especially if the magic gate is open, which is a gate just after you leave the station. You can go straight back up the station again. Yeah, it's brilliant. I know I've said it for most coasters. If you've not been to Energylandia to ride Zadra, go, because oh my god, it will not disappoint. Anyway, we're now going on to number 1, which, like I mentioned, was maybe my number 2, number 3 before, but after November, I had one of the best rides I've ever had on a coaster. Well, it was the best ride I've ever had on a coaster, and it has firmly placed it in a different league above every other coaster. And that is at Phantasialand again, and it's the Intamin Blitz coaster, Taron. Now, Taron, since the day it opened, has been high on my bucket list, and I got to ride it in 2023, but I only had 4 rides in 2 days on it. This time, I went in November, and I had 17 rides in just 1 day, and I was there for 2 days. I think we had 21 rides in total, and there was a specific ride I had on this thing which was my first night ride on it. Now, it wasn't the winter event, it was just the week before. So it was running its winter wheels in a quite warm day, and it was flying, but no lights were on. So it wasn't running the winter event, you know, red and blue lights. It was pitch black. And little story time, wearing the Voltron hoodie, I went to go put my bag. We was on the very front row, and I went to go put my bag on the baggage hold. Went back to the seat, and the guy was obviously waiting for me to sit down to pull the restraint down. He sees the Voltron hoodie, and is like, Voltron Nevera. As he pulls the restraint down, very slowly. He must have been an enthusiast, because he did not put the restraint anywhere near me. A huge gap. I'm convinced he just did it so the green light was showing, and then the train would send. And I'm quite skinny, so there was a huge gap. And we left the station, and I was like, my restraint is so loose, this is going to be insane. Did the first launch up into the overbank, and I was like, oh yes, this is brilliant. And then we hit that first airtime hill, and I was vertically stood up. Like, I was... It was the best airtime I've ever had on a coaster. But then, the highlight of the ride, the second launch. Oh my god, I could literally be there right now, just experiencing that second launch over and over again, and I would not be complaining. Because it is the best element put on a coaster. It just is. And at night, with no lights on, it was like we were launching into pitch blackness. It was like, you come down, you could slightly see the launch, but right at the end there was just nothing. And we went straight towards it at 70 something miles an hour. Oh my god, it was so good. And yeah, we hit the brakes, and I was already debating it being number one that first day, and I was like, it's running so well. That ride firmly cemented it as just the best ride I've ever had on a coaster. Since the day it opened to 2023, I wanted to get on it. And I did it, and I was like, yeah, it's good. It probably might be number one when I first did it, but maybe it's, you know, there's some other rides that I sort of prefer a similar amount. Now, it's just, there is no other ride compared to Taron. And yeah, people say it's overrated, people say Velocicoaster's better. Velocicoaster does not make that sound. Be quiet. The soundtrack as well, it's just so good. The theming, oh my god, Fantasyland absolutely killed it with this thing. Intamin, it's the best Intamin creation ever built. I don't care, like I mentioned, you can say Velocicoaster is, it's just not. Velocicoaster doesn't make that sound. It does not have that punchy, just incredible launch. I've said it, I don't care. Mosasaurus roll, shush. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.